Did you know that when Constantinople fell in 1453, it was not only the end of an empire, but also a moment that permanently changed the direction of European history? The fall of Constantinople in 1453 was far more than a military victory. It symbolized a major turning point in European history, marking the decline of the Byzantine Empire and the rise of the Ottoman Empire as a dominant global. This transformation deeply affected political structures, economic systems, and cultural movements across Europe, eventually helping shape the modern Western world. To understand why this event was so significant, we need to look back at the 14th century when Ottoman expansion first began. Over time, the Ottomans steadily gained territory, gradually surrounding Byzantine lands and taking control of key regions in the Balkans. With each conquest, Constantinople became increasingly isolated. By the 1450s, the city was no longer the powerful capital it once had been. In 1453, Ottoman forces led by Sultan Mehmed II launched a full-scale siege of Constantinople. Using advanced military technology, including massive cannons, the Ottomans broke through the city's famous walls. After weeks of intense fighting, Constantinople fell. This marked the official end of the Byzantine Empire and a dramatic shift in the balance of power in Europe. For many Europeans, this moment symbolized the collapse of a centuries-old political and religious order. Following the conquest, Constantinople was renamed Istanbul and became the new capital of Ottoman Empire. This decision reshaped political alliances, redirected trade routes, and permanently altered Europe's relationship with both the East and the Mediterranean world.
Politically, the fall of Constantinople caused a major shift in European military and governmental strategies. The success of the Ottomans demonstrated the effectiveness of new warfare technologies. As a result, European rulers were forced to modernize their armies and rethink the fortification systems. In response to the growing Ottoman threat, many European monarchs strengthened their central governments. Power became more concentrated in the hands of kings and rulers, allowing for faster decision-making and stronger national armies. That being said, this process contributed to the decline of feudalism and the rise of centralized nation-states. The fall also led to a large mourning among Christians throughout Europe. Constantinople had been seen as a spiritual and cultural stronghold of Christianity. Its loss was viewed not just as a political loss, but as a religious tragedy. This emotional response helped carry long-term connection between Christian Europe and the Ottoman Empire, shaping foreign policy, diplomacy, and military conflicts for centuries and more.
Economically, the Ottoman conquest had serious consequences for European trade. By taking control of Constantinople, the Ottomans gained dominance over key land and sea routes connecting Europe to Asia. These routes were essential for transporting luxury goods, such as spices, silk, and precious metals. European merchants, specifically those in Venice and Genoa, suffered heavy losses. Trade became more expensive and unpredictable. Access to Eastern goods was limited, and many commercial cities struggled to survive. This disruption exposed Europe's dependence on Eastern trade networks. Instead of adapting to Ottoman control, European states began searching for alternative routes to Asia. Countries such as Portugal and Spain invested heavily in maritime exploration, hoping to overcome Ottoman-controlled territories. That being said, the age of exploration began. New discoveries were made in sea routes. Previously known lands were also kept and used. Over time, this shift transformed Europe's economy, improved colonization, and created an effective foundation for global trade and capitalism. Although the fall of Constantinople initially caused economic challenges, it also shaped Europe into becoming a long-term economic expansion and global influence.
Culturally, the fall of Constantinople played a crucial role in spreading the Renaissance in Western Europe. After 1453, many Byzantine scholars fled the city and migrated towards the west. They brought with them ancient Greek manuscripts that had been preserved for centuries in the Byzantine world. These texts included works on philosophy, science, medicine, and literature. Once these scholars settled in cities like Florence and Venice, their knowledge began to spread rapidly. Wealthy patrons and influential families supported the translation and study of these classical works, making them accessible to a wider audience. As a result, European intellectual life began to change. Scholars moved away from medieval religious teachings and focused on humanism, emphasizing individual thought and classical learning. This cultural shift had a direct impact on Renaissance art, science, and philosophy. Artists worked in fields of realism, scientists tried to find answers to traditional explanations, and thinkers promoted independent inquiry. In this way, while the fall of Constantinople marked the end of Byzantine cultural dominance, it also became an opportunity for cultural rebirth in Western Europe.
In conclusion, the fall of Constantinople in 1453 was far more than the collapse of a single city or empire. Politically, it reshaped the balance of power in Europe and forced Western states to reorganize their governments and foreign policies. Economically, the Ottoman control of major trade routes disrupted long-established systems, pushing European nations to search for new maritime paths and eventually leading to global exploration and expansion. Culturally, the movement of Byzantine scholars and classical knowledge to Western Europe helped fuel Renaissance humanism, transforming art, science, and philosophy. When viewed together, these political, economic, and cultural changes show that the fall of Constantinople was not simply an ending, but a turning point that reshaped Europe's identity and set the foundation for the modern world.